welcome back to my channel. I hope you all had a lovely Christmas and New Year and have hit the ground running with your 2019 goals, whatever they may be. I want to talk about something that's kind of related to the fact that we are soon after the gift giving season, and this is a question that I was asked by my very good friend Flo. What do you do when people buy you t-shirts, etc. that aren't the right size or really your style? I feel so guilty about them that I end up with piles of unwanted gifts in my cupboard and I can't bear to give them away because I just feel like a bad person who's throwing away that person's generosity and love. But at the same time, I have piles of stuff I don't need or want taking up valuable room in my wardrobe. I think this is a very, very good question because one of the things that I talk a lot about and that was very important to me when I was decluttering and sort of going through more of a minimalist phase was it's this idea of detachment. So trying to separate who you are from what you own. I think that's a very, very important thing. However, it's a lot more difficult when we are trying to detach an item from somebody else. It's like it's not our place to do that almost, and it feels ungrateful. And I guess in this video, I want to make the argument that receiving something that you don't want or like and getting rid of it, if you choose to, is not an ungrateful thing to do. So the first thing we need to do is think about exactly what a gift is. So a gift lives two lives. The first life is decided by the giver. So this is sort of a twofold thing. Generally, people give gifts because one, they want to fulfill a social obligation, and two, because they want to communicate some idea that, you know, that you've been thought of and that you are loved. So that's kind of the first life. The second life is decided by the recipient. So, you know, how do you implement this thing into your life? What do you do with it now that you've got it? Now, the thing about the first part of this is once the giver has given the gift to the receiver, it has fulfilled its purpose as far as the giver is concerned. So they have fulfilled their social obligation and they have also communicated to you that you've been considered, that you've been thought of and that you are loved and that, you know, that they like you. Once you have the gift, that job has been done. Now it's over to you to decide how you're going to implement this thing in your life, if at all. So a really helpful way of thinking about it is that everything that the giver intended you to get from it, realistically, has been achieved. Now, I know obviously they would love it if the thing that they were giving you was something that you cherished and used all the time and, you know, you're so happy and you love it so much. But this is one of the problems with giving gifts to older people. Because when you're a kid, you have no real way of getting anything yourself. So you have to rely on being gifted things to have things to use that aren't necessities, I guess. So the issue comes then when you are someone who has a job, when you can afford your own things. If there is a vacancy in your life for something, you can get that yourself. So you find when it comes to a gift giving time, like a birthday or Christmas or anything like that, you have to like crowbar this new item into your life because your life works perfectly fine without it. And you know, there's going to be the odd gift that's the magical missing piece and you get it and it's like, how have I lived without this for so long? That's great, you know, amazing. It's not going to happen all the time. It's going to be a very rare case. So, you know, you've got this fully functioning life and then you've been asked to introduce something into it. And that is not an easy thing to do. And not only is it not an easy thing to do, but it's sort of not, no one can really expect you to do that. And I know the problem is that some people might. I understand that. I'm not trying to say this isn't like a perfect solution. These are things to consider, I guess. But no one can expect you to spend the rest of your life with something that you've bought them. The rest of your life is a long, long time. It's unreasonable. If someone genuinely expects you to hold on to something until the day you die, it's an unreasonable request. And of course, I'm not saying that it's not a lovely gesture. It's still a lovely gesture. You know, if someone's taken the time to give you something, then that's wonderful. But there's only so much that they can expect. They can expect you to receive it gratefully and graciously, and that's kind of it. Another really important thing worth considering is one of the reasons that we hang on to things that we don't use or need that's been given to us is out of respect for the person who gave it to us. So on this topic of respect, there's a couple of other people I want us to consider. So obviously there's you and there's the person who's given you the gift. That sort of seems like a linear transaction. That's all that we need to consider. However, there are two more parties I think that need considering. And the first one is the person who made it. So this could be, you know, someone living a miserable existence in a sweatshop, or it could be someone who's poured their heart and soul into this item that they have designed, and it's their little baby and they love it, and they want you to love it as well. Whoever that person is, the fruit of their labor deserves respect. It deserves to be used as much as we can, or to go on to be used by someone else who can use it as much as they can. Which leads me to the second party that we need to consider, and that is the person who would benefit from it, the person who that item clothing would really fit and would really bring joy to their lives, or the child who would really love that toy and would take it with them everywhere, and who would really treasure it and really love it. I think we need to consider those two sides of this sort of transaction, because if respect is what we are concerning ourselves with, we need to think about respecting everyone, and also the item itself. Another thing that's definitely worth considering is the fact that when you hold on to things out of guilt or obligation, like out of negative emotions, whenever you see that, it's like it reminds you of those bad feelings. So whenever you see that pile of gifts that you don't use, that you should use, you get like a pang of guilt or a sort of feeling of annoyance that you're not the person who is using those when you think that you should be, or something like that. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's like, buying gym gear because you thought it might make you go to the gym, and then it just hangs in your wardrobe, and every single time you see it, you feel guilty because you should be going to the gym. It's that kind of thing. It's a constant reminder and like a weight on you. The argument I want to make is that the person who's given you this gift obviously loves you and they care about you, and they might not be able to fully understand the impact of their gift, if it is, any way negative in your life. But if they did, they wouldn't want you to be feeling that way. Like, they wouldn't want you to be sad, especially they wouldn't want to make you sad. I just want to apologize as well, because the sun is going down. It's 2:30. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. The sun is going down and it's shining right in my face. So apologies if I have no features. Is there a better place I can go? I'll go here. There we go. So often we know that the person who has given us the gift would not understand how we feel. And that is the really, really difficult thing, because I don't know, I find the concept of minimalism a very bizarre one to explain if you haven't experienced anything like it before. So, I mean, well, you know, you know more than anyone. For me, it's been like revolutionary. It's changed my entire life. But like trying to convey that in a casual conversation, it doesn't happen. I don't have that combination of words on me. So explain to someone how owning less is good, especially if it's to someone who, maybe has some sort of a scarcity mindset, who has absolutely no concept of why that would be a good thing. They can't understand, or they would really struggle to understand. So you can't expect them to understand, but what you can do is say, I know that if they did understand, they wouldn't want me to feel this way. If that makes any sense at all. I don't know if it did. And the last thing I think you should bear in mind is that although you might think that these things represent generosity and love and thoughtfulness and all of these nice things, they aren't generosity and love and thoughtfulness. They are just objects. You can think that there's a lot of emotion invested in this item, but that love and that generosity isn't in the item. It's in you. That person has given. That's how they're communicating their love for you. They love you. It's not stored within the item. So if you choose to discard something or donate something, you are not discarding that emotion, because that emotion is in you. That person who gave you the gift loves you, and that's never going to change. It doesn't matter how many of their gifts you throw away. The other thing that does need considering as well, and this isn't something that I have an answer for, is it's not good to hurt people's feelings. I think that firstly, when we're in a situation like this, we vastly amplify how that person is going to see the decision we've made. Okay, so here's an example. My mum moved to Spain when I was in my teens, and she left me loads of stuff. So she didn't die, she just moved away, but she left all of her furniture with me. And it was done kind of like in nice ways, and Carmen used some nice furniture, and that was great and everything. But it's not furniture that I would really have picked out myself, and it's not, it was really big and not stuff that I needed. Like, one of the things was a dresser, a really big dresser, and it was a lovely dresser, but I don't need a dresser. I get ready on the floor, just down here, and it's fine. Where's my face gone? There we go. But I felt so bad getting rid of this dresser because I was really worried I would hurt my mum's feelings, because she would know, she would come round and she would notice it was gone, and that scared me because I didn't want her to be hurt. But that was a few years ago now, and she's never mentioned anything. So she might watch this video, and this might be the time that she realizes. But it was lovely, and she'd inscribed on the inside of one of the drawers like a little message saying that she loved me and put the date and all that type of thing. And she loves me. She loves me. That dresser wasn't there for, her to prove that she loved me. It's not there for that reason. And I know there's obviously the argument as well. I'm sure my mum on some level thought that it would be nice if every time I looked at it I thought of her. But I think of her all the time. She's my mum. Like, I love her. Our bond is so much greater than any physical object that it's almost disrespectful to how much I love her and how much she loves me to shrink it down to something as meaningless as a physical object. So I can't remember what my initial point was, but I'm going to assume I've made it. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, like hurting people's feelings. I think generally you may overplay how hurt someone is going to be by your actions. I think generally people are just focusing on their own lives and don't care that much. I'm just going to turn the old ISO down because I don't have a face right now. What is this? Okay, right, I think we found an angle now. So I was talking about hurting people's feelings, wasn't I? Something to consider is that it's like a trade. It's a transaction. So on a normal day, if you were decluttering something you'd bought, you get rid of an item, so it costs you an item, and you get the feeling of being a bit lighter and having a bit more space in your house, and that is the exchange. If you have someone in your life who has given you a gift and would be genuinely hurt if you got rid of something, like genuinely hurt. So I have someone in my life who might be like that, but I never ever see, so would never find out. But if you have someone in your life who would be genuinely hurt or genuinely angry, because, as I've said, it's very unreasonable for someone to expect you to hold on to something until the day you die, but people are unreasonable. So if you have someone like that who's given you something, then when you consider the cost in that case is going to be the item that you donate plus the grief that you're going to receive. If that isn't worth the good feelings that you would get back, which depending on what this person's like might be the case, it might just be worth hanging on to it. And it's not ideal at all, but I'm not trying to say that the best option is always going to be getting rid of stuff, because there are people who really, really value things and owning things and gifts, and trying to explain to someone like that why you don't feel that way is very difficult and probably impossible, I would say. So what can we do in this situation? Well, I mean, if you've been given something that you doesn't fit or you can't use for whatever reason, there are a couple of options. If it doesn't fit, first of all, you could get it altered and you could actually get it to fit you. Maybe you could get it turned into a cushion or like a little bag or something that you would actually use. So if you still feel like there is emotional content within the item that you've been given, you can repurpose the item. You can make it something else that you would actually use. You could donate the item, or you could sell it and donate the proceeds that you make to a charity that they would really like, or you could use the money that you make to buy something that you would really love and genuinely use, and then try and kind of transfer the emotional weight of the initial item into the thing that you actually use every single day. Something I do as well is, if there is something that I love and want to keep but just don't use it enough to actually warrant keeping it, then I give myself a deadline to use it by. So I'll say, like, in 2 weeks time, if I haven't used this top, then I'm going to donate it. And then that's kind of the kick up the bum I need to actually wear the top, and then I get to keep the top, and it's like a little game that I play with myself, and then I win it, and it's good. So I hope something in there was useful, and I hope you're all doing very well and you're all having a lovely day, and I will see you in my next video. See you later.